Okay, this is going to be a little video about the fuse panel that I installed in my 2021 Wolverine X2 XTR 850. So I wanted to run a lot of accessories on here, and one of those being an audio system with a couple of amplifiers. So I knew that I was going to be taxing the factory battery pretty badly, so I wanted to do the dual battery setup. So I did my dual battery setup, and you can see a video and thread on that in Wolverine forums. I'll put the link. I use the True UTV dual battery isolator. So your main battery goes in, and then this goes to your second battery, and it makes sure your first battery is charged before it gives anything to the second battery. And then what I did was I put my second battery in the factory location that Yamaha sells you a kit for, but I didn't use the Yamaha kit because it's outrageously priced. But here's my second battery. I built my own brackets. There's a video and a thread on that. So once I had the second battery in, then I needed to do my fuse panel. Now, you've probably seen this similar fuse panel done by a lot of people, and they either mount it up here, some mount it sideways up here. I didn't want it to interfere with anything. So underneath this panel was basically just like a little trough where wires were, and they were below this. So I decided that due to the size, that would be a great place to put it. So I cut a piece of 1/8 inch aluminum. I cut it square, and I think I have the measurements in the video. I'm not sure. Now, this screw right here is the factory screw that's drilled through this metal panel holding it in. But originally, this plastic was sealed over it, so you had to take the whole air filter cover off in order to get at that screw. So what I did was I took a Dremel and I just, made like a little U with the Dremel and ground the plastic away so that I can get at that screw regardless of whether this cover is off or not. On the back, this factory screw actually has like a built-in spacer on it that's really thick, much wider than the bolt itself. So up here I did the opposite. Up here I made a U into the aluminum panel so that it slid under there and that the surface area held it down nice and tight, and this one's in the actual exact hole that's drilled through. Then I sprayed the aluminum panel with Rust-Oleum truck bed coating, and then I used, I don't know if you see under here, there's legs that I have that are keeping the fuse panel raised. And those legs were some aluminum rod that I had, or aluminum tubing that I had. And, like, kind of like this. It was a little smaller size than this, but I buy this stuff from Aircraft Spruce online. And a lot of times, in fact, here's the one I use, this little one. This little one here. A lot of times you go to Aircraft Spruce and you'll go into the aluminum, and they sell what they would call like mystery boxes, let's say. And what it is it's a bunch of scrap aluminum. It's a bunch of aluminum tubing in 1 to 2 foot lengths, and it says like 5 pounds for $15 or 10 pounds, whatever it says. And they send you this cardboard box, and it's just filled with various 1 foot pieces of different aluminum tubing and thicknesses and grades, and it's a really good deal because I end up using them on projects all the time. And I buy aluminum panels, I buy a lot of aluminum pieces like that from them. They're an airplane parts supplier, so they have all this aluminum. It's a good place to go for parts and things. So anyway, so I used the aluminum spacers, which I also covered in the Rust-Oleum bed liner. So I got the panel mounted in, and I used the screws I used on the bottom, stainless steel. They came up into a nylon lock nut on each corner. Okay, then for the ground, this is a 4-gauge wire that runs to the same backup battery that I put in there. And then the power side comes from the backup battery and goes into this large 120 amp relay, out of the 120 amp relay and into the fuse panel. And this 120 amp panel turns off and on, 120 amp relay, turns off and on through the main power switch I put on the dashboard. Now, the main power switch on the dashboard has constant power all the time to it. And the reason I did that is, again, so you can run your accessories when the vehicle is off. You know, you're working out in the woods, you want to listen to your radio, it's dark, you need light, you're working on something. That way the key isn't in the on position on the Wolverine all the time. So once you get the panel installed and you power the panel, it's pretty straightforward. These are all your ground leads down here, and your power leads come off next to each fuse opening. And then you put the appropriate fuse for the accessory you're running. Now, this fuse panel, I think it said it handles 100 or 120 amps. So you're not going to have all your accessories on at one time, but since my LED light bars came with wiring harnesses with relays built in, I just used the harnesses that came with them, and then the switch gets its power from here to turn them off and on. So that's why you don't see any large fuse holders in here. Now these last three spots are going to be windshield wipers, cooling fans, and I'll have one free one there. Those will have larger fuses because the panel can handle it. So you know, I'll do that. Plus your windshield wipers, you don't even use that often, and for a variety of reasons, they'll be able to handle what I put in there. So that's the fuse panel, and that is how I mounted it. Whoops, put that in backwards. There we go. That's how I mounted it in there. Again, it doesn't take much longer to do things neat and clean. I've got a video on how to crimp Yamaha plugs, but that's how I did the fuse panel. So, and then the majority of those wires, if they trip a relay or they don't, run to this set of rocker switches I took out that factory pocket, and I replaced those sideways rocker switches with 9 openings. And then I took the that blue light that comes on that used to be inside the pocket, the accent lighting that's under the dash and everything comes blue. I actually moved that over here next to the 4x4 and the headlight switch, because you can never see those and read those, but now the blue light's on them and you can read them, and it's not bright enough that it's distracting. It's actually worked out very well. So I will put the link to the Yamaha forums. You got any questions that I can help you with, just leave a message in the forums, and that's it for today. Thanks.